Hi, I'm Jeff Kenton. I'm the person behind ProfessorKenton.com. And today I want to talk through a series of events that might have shown some past students how they may need to be a little bit more careful using social media. This was a memory that showed up on my Facebook timeline yesterday, and it talks about how a person needs to be especially careful when using social media, because social media lives forever. There is no place to hide it. There's no place to erase it once it's out there, because there's always a copy someplace. So the things that we wanted to warn people about specifically were pictures of people enjoying an adult beverage, maybe before they're of age, or engaging in other inappropriate or criminal behavior, and posting evidence of that online. And when I was in the dean's office and I wore the jacket that said assistant dean on it, the pre-service teachers nodded along appropriately and accepted that the policy was important, and they all signed the new policy, which was rolled out, as it says here, in January of 2012. After I left the dean's office in the summer of 2016, I returned to being a teaching professor. And one of the first classes I taught was a freshman seminar. In that freshman seminar, almost every one of the students was in their first semester of university classes. And so the freshman seminar was intended to help them to learn how to write in a formal way, and especially using APA in our case. So one of the themes that we used in our department was learning and living in a digital society. And one of the concepts in there was the Digital Dossier. The Digital Dossier is a collection of everything you've ever done online, electronically or otherwise. These things might include all the pictures you posted to Facebook or Twitter, or even the electronic artifacts that your doctor saves to your health profile. Now, in most cases, these items are well protected, and when you visit your doctor, you will be made aware of their HIPAA policy and the way that you can be assured that your data is being protected. Now, in that class, that freshman class, when I gave the scenarios that often accompany such things, like, for example, posting pictures of yourself engaging in behavior that's technically illegal, you may find that your current employer finds evidence of that and is able then to use that to terminate you. And if you are engaging in something that could be considered a felony, as it says in the memory here, you might even be prevented at the state level from being certified to teach. Even in some cases where it's not felonious behavior, but just particularly bad judgment, if that information is shared publicly somehow and a future parent sees it, no matter how far down the line, you may find yourself in trouble. Now, at the time, these freshmen scoffed and chortled and said that everybody who knows anything knows how to protect their information from prying eyes, and to keep it especially hidden from their parents and other authority figures. Now, that's fine. I can accept that. I was happy to know that they were even aware of the possibility and that they were doing something to try and protect themselves. Now, as a somewhat of a counterexample, I wanted to talk a little bit about Parlor. Parlor is an app that arose as an opposition to Facebook and Twitter because their subscribers felt that their voice was being stifled or censored in the Twitter and Facebook universes. So a group of folks developed Parlor and set it out there for folks to use. Now, that's fine. Competition's great. Having a more welcome and receptive place to share your opinions is part of what America's all about. So part of what I wanted to also talk about is that as well as an individual taking some responsibility for what is captured in their digital dossier, some amount of that falls on to the vendor as well. What was found, though, and this comes from a Washington Times article that I will post below, post the link to it. Parlor was in the habit of offering a certain level of services with no additional inputs of personal information, but that they also collected social security numbers, driver's license numbers, passport numbers, bank accounts, and credit cards in order to access additional features. Now, some folks may get their spidey senses tingling at the concept of sharing something like a social security number, a driver's license number, or a passport number, but maybe less so when trying to share credit card numbers or bank account numbers, especially when the intention is to buy some sort of merchandise. So the parts here, my freshman seminar students would probably still be able to chortle their way free of any kind of worry. I would never share my social security number or my passport number or so forth. All right. Now, the greater issue here is that the folks who engaged in Parlor were also not aware of how, from some perspectives, poorly the app was developed and the data protected and secured. During the early days of January 2021, there was an invasion by angry protesters of the U.S. Capitol building. These protesters were led to believe that the election was being stolen and that the only way to protect the nation was to prevent the certification vote from taking place. That was taking place later that same day. There was a protest in which the president spoke, and then later that day, soon after, upwards of 1,000 people stormed and entered the U.S. Capitol building. And at some point, all the folks were ejected from the Capitol building, and the certification vote took place and finished at something like 4 a.m. on the 7th of January. So why is this important? I mean, these folks are, it's all cool, right? I mean, nobody's going to find out who did it or any of that. Now remember that Parlor collected an amazing amount of information in exchange for further features. And other things that people maybe weren't aware of is that when they uploaded any kind of digital asset, like a picture or a movie, there were additional pieces of metadata attached to those uploads. Metadata includes things like GPS coordinates. So when Parlor, as a result of its use as an organizational tool of these protesters, when Parlor was shut down and booted off its hosting facility, a enterprising researcher, a data analysis person, pulled down all the data they could get from the Parlor database. Now, that sounds a little strange. How could they download the data? Well, that was one of the problems. Parlor didn't have the data encrypted. They didn't really put any protections at all on their data. And in fact, sequential posts, the order of the posts in the database were sequentially numbered. So it was then became trivial to for data analysis experts to reassemble not only a timeline but an annotated rundown of where each individual person was when they uploaded a picture or if they entered the Capitol building. Now this map I'm about to animate comes from adambrewer.com/map. And as you can see at the top, the timestamp is 2021 January 6th at 9:30 a.m. That's when the protest was held at the Ellipse, just in front of the White House. Now I'm just going to run it, and I think it runs until 7 or 8 p.m. But you can see what this data harvested from the Parlor database is able to show. And there we go. All right, so let's go back one more time, and hopefully we can replay this. 9:30. All the dots are in front of the ellipse, and then they go down US 50 and Pennsylvania Avenue to the front, sometimes inside the Capitol building itself. And that last frame that I stopped it at was 8:45 p.m. So what this unwitting use of this, let's say, poorly crafted app that made it very easy for people to communicate with one another led to an amazing amount of personal information to be available to folks who were easily able to grab onto it. Now, I'm certain that my freshman seminar students would quickly say, "Oh, there's no way I'd use Parlor. That's only for, whatever, other people, not me." But what we don't know, what we can't completely know, is how any particular app is protecting and safeguarding your data. Now, some of the big ones like Twitter and Facebook have legal requirements that they have to protect data in a certain way, especially international apps like those two and WhatsApp, some of the others that operate internationally, especially in Europe or the EU, where there's a thing called the General Data Protection Regulation that requires individuals' data to be carefully protected. So, what's this all about? Well, I wanted to let people know that when you post something online, it can be seen by others, including any future bosses. And in the case that I illustrated earlier, it may be used as evidence against you in a court of law. And so, please, as you are transversing the Internet of Things, please make sure to know about the data protections built into your apps and be careful about what you share and how you share it. Because, like we're learning now, it may be very difficult to predict when and how a particular set of information may become useful against you in an employment situation or otherwise. So thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful to talk a little bit about Digital Dossier and how to make sure to safeguard and protect yourself and your personal information. If you desire, my contact information is below. Take care of yourself and good day.